Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that you are a giant already. Hey, in this episode, you get to experience some radical transformation. So join us for the best episode ever as we help wake up the inner giant. Let's go. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, and I'm the co-founder of Wake Up with Giants TV and a Tribe of Giants. And I am here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls, and the next best book that's coming out, The Tortoise's Hair. We're in the middle of an Indiegogo campaign, and we are like, I don't know, 60% plus funded. I did that. It's quick math, Nick.
That was good math. Yeah.
which is pretty dang close.
Yeah. It's 6,000 of our $10,000 goal. So we are just about there with 38 days to go.
See, I did get the math right.
Yeah, you did good.
If my internet struggles at all, I am coming to you live from some Fairfield Inn in the middle of somewhere, Santa Clarita, California. So we'll blame the Marriotts if it doesn't pull through for us. But we're so excited for everything we've got going on. We're building an interest list for our SG program that is getting ready to get launched. So if you want to go through our 8-week program, go to giantsandsmalls.com, hit the sign up for our newsletter, and there's also a link for an interest in that SG group. So join that.
What is that SG group?
It is Assume Gigante, where we take you on a very deep dive through the 12 journeys, follows the narrative of the book.
Oh, cool.
In the book, it's not in the exact order, but we take you through 12 journeys to radically transform your life.
That question, Kit. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
we have
a quiz there too.
It sounds like it's a journey, quest, adventure. That
it
really cool.
is, but it's a journey within. It's releasing that inner giant.
Yes, it sounds like you guys really want to make things fun.
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes it's not so fun.
No.
Sometimes F words come out of people. So yeah, not so fun.
It happens. It happens.
It does.
Good morning, Giants.
What else do we have, Nick, that I'm missing?
That's it. We're doing these integrated book readings. You can watch for those on our calendar. So we have our events calendar on the giantsandsmalls.com, and we're doing those multiple times a week. And if you want to host one, for being a host, we'll get you a free copy of the book, The Giants and the Smalls. And that just helps us spread the message around the world.
Hooray.
That's it. Nothing big, just big stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of big stuff, we've got an amazing giant guest here today. Will you introduce our guest?
I'd be happy to. So we have Master Coach Kit Volcano, who shares his unique approach to healing and personal growth. So with 20 years of entrepreneurial experience, Kit has helped countless individuals, including entrepreneurs and celebrities, to master their minds and emotions and create measurable change in their lives. Kit's energy and fun-loving spirit are infectious, making the journey towards self-improvement an enjoyable and empowering one. And in this episode, we're going to discuss his approach to emotional mastery as Kit shares his insights on how to create miracles in your life and offers practical tips and exercises to help you achieve your goals. So we're going to dive into your philosophy. So named one of the 40 under 40 LGBTQ leaders in Business Equality magazine, Kit is a rare transgender entrepreneur who has reached over $1 million in revenue with their business. You won't want to miss out on this powerful and inspiring conversation with Kit Volcano. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for the welcome. Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
I appreciate it.
We really like to dive into your personal journey and your philosophies. Those are going to come out naturally as we go through this. But we usually start with the first journey in the 12 journeys, which is the non-conscious journey. And we blend that with the awareness journey. So there's this part of you that thought you were something in your life. and you had a start point, maybe that, you can go back to that if you'd like. And you had an awakening that that's not me. You
Oh
know,
God.
there were all these things that were maybe handed to me that I developed, and you said, nope, I'm not doing that. And you had this
Did you say,
awakening.
oh God?
Oh God.
Oh God, let's do it.
But does that happen like every single day in our life, right? How many
Yeah.
journeys can I talk about? But
Yeah. Well, we can do a few of them, but
I, I
let's start with one.
let's start with the first one, the first awakening.
Yeah.
I was living in Chicago. I had a hair salon. I was crushing it. And I had always, being raised female, I'd always grown up with this like fairy tale idea of romance.
Huh.
And it's a really interesting journey being socialized female, presenting as male. You have this perspective that is like it's out of this world. It really is. And so I had this romance, this ideal romantic life. I wanted to get married, have a partner, all of that. And I had this idea that there was this other person that would complete me. So I would date a bunch of women and throw myself at their feet, change myself for them, try to fit into their mold so that we could be in a relationship. And of course, you don't know in your 20s that doesn't work, but every time the relationship fails that you change yourself for, it's heartbreaking because you don't even have yourself left at the end
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
So I had gone through the cycle many, many, many times looking for that the one, And finally, I was so desperate that I ended up dating one of my employees, and that's not good. Like
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever wanted to try that, but don't.
Some
So
words of wisdom right there, right?
yeah,
Probably
if
not
there's
the best
anything
move.
that you take from this, it's don't
Yeah.
date your employees. So we dated, and I bought her tickets to fly around the world with me for many, many months later. Like at the beginning when the butterflies are high, I bought the tickets for months later, and then the months between then and when we actually went on the trip we weren't compatible. So we ended up going on this trip around the world, go to Turkey, go see all these amazing things, and it was the most miserable trip ever because we just were not right for each other. And she was not very kind to me. And I was just like at the end of my rope. I was like, what am I doing wrong here? I am giving everything to these women to be with them, to date them, and they're jerks to me. They're terrible. And so I get back and we're just not in a good place. And I try to break up with her, but for some reason she won't let me. And then I end up going out that night and DJing a party. And there's this woman, and she's beautiful. And she basically is like, you're my soulmate. I love you. I've been in love with you forever. She was one of my clients. And I was just like, oh my God, this is what I've always been wanting, is somebody just to love me this much. So I've never been disloyal, but I'm like, I try to break up with her. It's not working. And it was just so terrible that I ended up going home with that girl a few nights later. And that's not a good idea either, to date an employee and then, not be loyal. And so it just destroyed everything. I lost respect of the people in my business. I had to show up to now this ex-girlfriend who I didn't even want to be with, but who hated me. And it was really, really, really shitty. And so I'm
Yeah.
at the end of my rope, and I'm feeling like because this is a lifetime pattern of
Yeah.
giving my own self-love up to someone else, looking for someone else to complete me, and it just not working. So I start drinking, and when miserable people drink, it's a really bad idea. And I end up, feeling kind of suicidal, take myself up to the rooftop, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but this isn't the life for me. So I was gonna, off myself there. And I looked up at the moon, and the moon was just like shining at me, and I hear a whisper of my spirit, and it's like, you haven't even really lived yet. You haven't lived for yourself yet. You've been living your whole life for other people, and you've never lived for yourself. So I gave myself this really radical ultimatum, which was I would live completely differently. I would live for me, not for anyone else, not to find a partner, not to find someone else to complete me, but I would complete myself. And if that didn't work, then, I could go back up on that rooftop or do whatever it was just to end my life. And that next 2 months, because I gave myself a 2-month deadline, was incredible. It
Yeah.
was, I did all of the things that I thought were too embarrassing. I, started doing yoga before yoga was cool. I was reading self-help books before this was like trending.
Yeah.
I grew gardens. I would bike in the rain. I just did everything that previously my negative self or other people's voices told me I couldn't do. And it just spiraled into loving myself, being super powerful, attracting incredible things, and really having a strong foundation in me. And then within 6 months of this journey, I actually attracted my partner who I'm with now. And when I wrote the list of, after about 5 or 6 months of just being on my own, doing my thing, I was like, okay, I get why I was failing, because I was
Mm.
living for everyone else. I had no core of who I was. And so I finally write the list of the partner that I want. And on that list was, she's crazy about me. And within a few
I'm
months,
glad you put the about me part in there,
yeah,
She's
right?
crazy
She's crazy because I've written that
about
list, I
me.
think.
yeah, and she's also
Yeah.
not crazy.
Yeah.
That's
She's not.
perfect.
But
That's awesome.
she loves me, and she loves me for everything that I am. So I
Hmm.
ended up attracting her, and she was in my life the whole time. And we've been together 10 years now. We just had our 10-year wedding
Amazing.
anniversary. And we actually do this work together. She joined me in my transformational journey. We became yoga teachers together. We started a coaching business together, and we live our life around transformation.
Okay, so I don't want this story to be so short, right? There's so much in there that happened that
That's
I
just
think
the
we need to,
beginning.
yeah, we need to pull out. It's like the idea of us developing ourselves around pleasing others or making others happy or seeking acceptance, right? It's common throughout the world. I mean, we've done over 150 episodes so far, and we see it as a theme through many of our shows, right?
Yep.
And so speaking of that, these people that, like yourself, that are trying to find yourself in the acceptance of others, what can you share, to go a little deeper on that? What can you share around that? How can people wake up gently to that without causing additional harm to themselves?
Gently.
Yeah.
Mm.
Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, the the wake up is not always gentle.
Okay.
The wake up is like when the pain of being the same is finally so intense that you're willing to face the pain of changing.
Okay. Yeah.
You ever been there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And by gentle, let me clarify a little bit, is I didn't do that when I woke up. I was very harsh on myself and not very accepting about where I was in my world. And so, like that idea, like you going up to the rooftop is a lot of us go through that energy of I'm not good enough. What the hell am I doing here? And it's almost like there's no room for us to be who we are within who we thought we should be. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think other things that really work are permission slips and
Mm,
like timestamps. This is an experiment. Like I'm doing 75 hard right now.
okay.
It's this like small amount of time where you say, I'm going to live this way and I'm going to see what it does for me.
Yeah.
And you get really concrete about what you're going to do. And then after a certain amount of time, I can renegotiate living this way. But this is an experiment. I'm making a commitment. I'm going to let my family know I'm going to be walking for like doing this and doing that. My diet's going to be this. And here's my timestamp, but I'm committing to this for myself.
I
So I
like
think
that.
that could be a gentle way of doing it is, not the harsh, like, I'm going to kill myself if I don't do this, but
Right.
my commitment, it's got a time limit. I can always go back.
Can you talk about, acceptance, self-acceptance, and how important is that in the journey of, really transforming and being who you're capable of being? I I see, just as an example here, if we grow up for our families, our culture, our society, and we mold to that when we're young, going through development, or we
Mm.
have some version of that. And then there's this version of us, and we're like, we're not that. But then we don't really have self acceptance for who we are.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing about self acceptance is creating a hard, defined line of who we are
Hmm.
and labeling that as self. And I see a lot of people do what you do is grow up in a certain way and then label that as self and then have such a hard time letting go of that.
Yeah, there's a dissonance, right? They're
Yeah. And
they're not that.
the solution to that, I would say, is give yourself the permission slip to experiment with who you are. Give
Yeah.
yourself the permission slip to not know who you are. Give yourself the permission slip to try something different and just see.
Okay, so what if you give yourself a permission slip, but your partner or friend doesn't? How do you navigate that?
Well, I mean, I, you know, I, I've never really been in that situation.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to, well, I had been in that situation. All of the relationships that I had
Yeah.
before I chose myself, before I chose this journey were awful. But once I chose this journey and I started choosing myself and I started loving myself and I started accepting myself and not judging myself for the things that I wanted to do or try, that's when I actually started attracting a partner who was incredibly supportive of me.
Yeah, so you're no longer hiding from you're pretending to be something that you're not. You're being fully that. So you're giving yourself permission to do that. And then you're either attracting or bringing into your space that partner that can also do that.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that if you are in relationships where people are not supportive of you, A, do you want to be in that relationship? B, what's going on inside of you that you're not supportive of yourself? And if
Mm,
every single relationship you're in is going to reflect the way that you view yourself.
yeah. Did you always were you just good at that naturally?
At supporting myself?
Yes. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it took, getting to a great pain to wake up to the fact that I was treating myself horribly, and
Yeah.
that's why every relationship I was in was treating me just like I treated myself.
Yeah. I love
You're the
the tools.
standard.
I
Yeah,
love
you're
the
the standard
tools.
for how you treat
Yeah. Go ahead. Go
You
ahead.
set the standard for how people treat you.
Yeah. See, and inside of this whole thing is you go through this real deep, dark space of life,
Yeah,
and you think this is it. What's the point? It's not worth it, right?
yeah,
And then something inside of you says, "Look, you haven't even lived yet. You're not. You don't even know what life is yet. So give yourself a little time." You set this 2 month window, so you put a timestamp on it.
I
And
did.
then inside of that timestamp, you give yourself a permission slip to be fully you, however that looks, right?
To on not even be fully me, but
Yeah.
experiment with what being fully me could be.
Okay.
So I never had to say, this is me. This is who I am. I said, I'm kind of interested in this, but I don't know if I know myself enough to say this is me. But I'm going to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
myself a little window of grace to even try these things that I've maybe wanted to do, but haven't let myself do.
Yeah. There, like that comment that was just there with you. Can you pull that back up?
Hmm.
There's, trying to be what everyone else thinks I should be instead of discovering who I am.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have lived our lives that way as we've got these value systems and morals and ethics and beliefs and personalities that we've developed, and a lot of those deal with what other people think we should be. And then we have that dissonance and we haven't really tried on. And I like the idea of trying it on. It's give yourself a timestamp to really experiment with it. and try it
It's,
on. See if you like it.
yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are so hard on themselves around their identity,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be. You can
Yeah.
be flexible. You can shift. Just treat yourself kindly. That's all you really have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about some other tools. So you talked about timestamps, speaking kindly to yourself, permission slips. What other tools have been really impactful in your life for regaining your power? Does that make sense? So if you felt disempowered or in a survival state, what are some other tools that you use to really re-engage with your life?
Well, I mean, this is a really interesting one, but I've been listening to Neville Goddard lately, and he talks about
Yeah.
self-abandonment.
Huh.
And I thought it was a really interesting phrase because right now we use self-abandonment as a horrible phrase, as like a bad thing that you're doing. But he talks about self-abandonment as like abandon the self that you are right now because it's not working. Abandon your negative habitual patterns. Abandon your limited way of seeing the world.
Mm.
Abandon your disbelief. Abandon your doubt. Abandon your habits. Yeah, abandon yourself.
Yeah, I like that. See, this is the first time I've heard it that way.
Me too.
I love Neville Goddard, and his work. I think didn't he do The Feeling is the Secret? Is that
Oh,
another one
he's
of his
got so
books?
many good ones. He's like
Yeah.
the godfather of law of attraction.
Yeah. The self-abandonment though. How many of us are just carrying forward these things that just no longer serve us?
Yes.
They're not
And how many
useful
of us
anymore.
are willing to completely let go of ourselves to find something maybe potentially better?
Yeah, yeah.
That I
It's
Yeah.
like
think is where the I think that's where there is this like if you grew up in maybe a household that had a certain set of values or a way of doing things, there's TV shows about this stuff, about leaving certain cultures and how hard it could be because of how intertwined your family dynamic is inside of maybe it could be a religion, it could be a culture, it could be all kinds of different things. But if it's not connecting or if it's not serving you the way that you really truly find yourself, it could be very hard to unravel all of that stuff,
Yeah.
because now you're thinking about, okay, well, I could lose my family, I could lose my friends, I could lose everything that I've ever known, and what's on the other side.
Yeah.
People could understand or see what's on the other side of like really living. It might be a little bit easier, but I can understand and empathize with people that are in that situation because I've been there.
It can be a crazy journey.
How do you get and how do you get through something like that? I don't know how, like, what your family dynamic was and your friends and all that type of thing, but for those that are experiencing that, and it might have been maybe a little easier for you as you were starting to kind of take off those masks and go, oh, there I am. For some people it might be even harder. What would you say to somebody that maybe is in that type of a circumstance?
Well, I think one of the tools that you could use is meditation. So here's one practice that you can try is go and sit with yourself and see how long you can sit with yourself and what your mind goes to. What your mind is unwilling to let go of thinking. What your mind is so clinging on to that you won't let go of your thoughts.
Mm.
And that's actually one of the best places to abandon yourself, to let go, is because when you see the thoughts that you are running over and over and over and over again, that you're unwilling to let go of, that now you expose your programming, and your programming is not you.
you I have a thought around this too. Maybe we can play with the idea of what it feels abrasive to you or where your judgments come up. Because what people will do is they'll get in a conversation with somebody else and they'll have judgments come up within themselves. I would never do that. I would be, that's not who I am in my world. Well, there are parts of us that are exactly that, but they've been exiled they've been put behind the scenes where we can't even bring them to the conscious awareness, but they're there. Often our judgments are an indication of those exiled parts of us that maybe we're not willing to look at. So when you get into this mindfulness and meditation, one of the ways you can really notice where you could have some growth is around these judgments, right? I think it's Carl Jung that said we judge because it's easier than thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that bring up for you? Do you have thoughts around that?
We judge because it's easier than thinking. Well, I don't know. Judgment is kind of a thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an opinion, right?
Yeah, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
Carl Jung might be wrong. So
It's probably a deeper level of doing what you said, like going back to what's true, like the meditation and really sitting with it versus just snap judgments, just, and we can be really, really, really hard on ourselves, and that's a judgment. I think it's slowing down. I think it's a deeper level of really thinking it through, talking it through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Another tool that came in my life was with one of my coaches, and he said, "You want to change your life, upgrade your needs for preferences."
explain that. Yeah. Go into detail. Yep.
This one blew my mind. He said, "Upgrade your needs for preferences." So imagine one thing in your life, and because we're talking about our relationships with others right now, imagine one thing in your relationship with others that you absolutely need for your happiness.
Well, acceptance, right?
There you go. So for me, when he said this to me, there were two things that were absolute needs. One was to have the respect of my co-parents. I was continuing to shape my actions, my words, my put on the mask of who I was because I needed their respect. And so I was not being myself because I was basing my everything off of a need. But when he said upgrade your need for a preference, I realized I don't need their respect, but I would prefer it. And all of a sudden,
I got you.
Yeah, you don't have to have it to live.
Yeah.
And so when you go into meditation, you can actually ask yourself that, like, what do I need to survive from other people? What energies, what qualities do I need to survive? What am I unwilling to let go of? So there was another one, which was love from my wife. And this was a really powerful one that I discovered, was I needed her to love me. And I realized that I was still shaping, there were places in my life where I was shaping myself for her love. So all of a sudden, you won't say no when it's really a no. You won't go take care of yourself when she has a need over yours.
Yeah.
And it's a really slippery slope. And, you'll start to need love from others before you give it to yourself.
Steve Chandler says that neediness is creepiness.
Oh, it is.
Right. I love this because the neediness versus preference. I would prefer this versus I need this.
Yeah,
right?
It's huge.
It's powerful. Yeah.
Huge.
Neville, well, it's what is it? The Course in Miracles or the Way of Mastery, I think is what it is. You don't need anything. I think it's the Way of Mastery. That if you truly think about it, you don't need anything. We tell ourselves all the have tos and all the need tos, but truly you have preferences, right? I would prefer this, but I don't need it. Because when you show up in that space of neediness, like you're saying, you are a different human being.
Especially in relationship. I mean, I think there's some core needs like air and water and food.
Well, yeah. Thank you for that.
Monster energy drinks.
And Monster, yeah.
But we're, and when you're really in a life or death situation, you will do things you need to do to survive. But even that, like, you could go super woo-woo level. Could there be, if you really let go of those needs, could a higher force come through and provide for you more than you could provide for yourself, more than you could ever imagine? Yeah.
In fact, I'm going through a version of that now where it's it's almost a forced letting go, just trusting you're going to be taken care of, right?
Oh,
And I think we do have some emotional needs too. So we have physical survival, like Maslow talks about, but we also there is an emotional component, because people who are put in isolation tend to die off or become really sick because they need that human connection. And so we do have this need to be loved. We do have a need to play as well. There's an innate thing within us to play with our lives.
it's true. And I think where people really get stuck is on the insistence.
Yeah. Okay.
So one of my most recent favorite phrases is insistence equals resistance.
Uh,
And that goes into need versus preference.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people will say, I need this, and insist on how they get it.
Yeah.
I
So
need
insistence with other people, is that what you mean?
insistence with their life. So I'll break it
Okay.
down really easily. I need to marry Zac Efron, right?
That's a need. That's a need.
That's a need. That's an
Insistent
insistent.
need.
Well,
Yep,
right up
that's
there with
an,
oxygen, right?
yep, that's an insistent need. Like
Yeah.
when you get really specific around how it's delivered to you and the
Yeah.
way it's
Gotcha.
delivered. And so a lot of people will mistake needs for demands or for specificities.
Mm.
Whereas when you take your needs to be more general, you can actually have your needs be met in a multitude of ways. And I
Yeah.
think that's also where the self-identity comes in, is you identify, let's say, as a Christian, like
Yeah.
you're super, or as a Catholic,
Yep.
super hardcore Catholic. Now your spirituality, your God needs can only be met in this one small box.
In the context of that, right?
In the context of your religion.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And what if your wake up is actually coming from breaking out of that box and not being so insistent on your spirituality, your God needs being met in that small box, aka the Mary Zac Efron box, versus having romance, having connection, having love.
Yeah. This is great. I mean, breaking the boxes anyway, right? The context that we've adapted to. Townsend Wardlaw shared, that anytime we have a belief, it becomes limiting by the nature of believing it. So we just essentially boxed in the universe and just said,
Oh,
that's it, right?
yeah.
Zac
And by
Efron.
and by
It's
boxed into the universe, that's you. Like you're limiting what truly can be because
Yep.
of certain insistencies.
yeah,
Yeah,
it works. Either way
Yep.
works.
that.
Insistence equals resistance. And, we're electricity. Our bodies are electricity.
Yeah.
And the universe flows through us through electricity. So if we're insisting on something, you're resisting something that could be flowing through you
Yeah.
and blocking essentially magic in your life.
Okay, so is there a balance there? I'm having the idea here that I have a light right here, that
Yes.
resistance creates light. So a level of resistance is needed for that to occur. But there is a flow also that gets interrupted by that light bulb that creates resistance and puts off this energy called light.
Yep.
So
And
how do you,
we
this
also
might
need
be a
resistance.
little woo woo. Yeah.
Gravity is resistance.
Okay.
So that's essentially resistance on this planet is how we experience our physical form. So some of it is necessary.
Yeah.
But when there's so much that you can't even function, you can't even expand, then
Yeah.
you move slower, because you put too much resistance on that and you're not gonna have any light, right?
It'll blow the bulb, right? Or it'll kick the breaker,
Yep.
just like life.
So it's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to play in the world of creation. So our first root journeys, the first 6 journeys that we do in our 12 journeys, are all about this internal work. How do you get your power back? How do you move from a space of disempowerment, like what you're talking about, insistence? How do you move through that to a space of power? And then once you get there, what do you do with it? Right? You're feeling good about life. You're engaged with life. You want to create something. This moves us into the growth journeys. So we always start with the journey of uncertainty, which is that, like Margaret Drabble says, when nothing is sure, everything is possible.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the self
Yep.
abandonment piece, is when you can let go of everything. Now anything is possible.
Hmm.
Do you want to hear the weird way that
Yeah,
we
let's
used
do it.
Yeah.
this? Okay, this is where it gets
Boy,
fun.
do we?
We're gonna get woo-woo here.
Yay!
There we go. So my wife
Yeah.
and I, we study this stuff. We love it. It's exciting. It lights us up. We do meditation. I don't know if you've worked with Joe Dispenza at all.
I've heard of
Familiar.
him
Yeah,
and I
very
see his
familiar.
videos.
He's a neuroscientist and a meditation teacher.
Yeah.
And he has radical transformational experiences with his clients and his students who let go of themselves in meditation. And so one of the things you have to do is let go of your cat, your worries about your cat, your worries about your body, your worries about your bills, to actually enter a field where anything is possible. And, we also study indigenous ceremonies and miracles, and study different teachers about indigenous ceremonies and miracles and how there can be radical healings within people. And so there's this one woman, Lynn McTaggart, who was a skeptic journalist. She would go into these prayer circles and research like that this is hogwash. And she ended up finding that these intention circles, these prayer circles, people would actually transform. And her studies said the more lights and music and pageantry and expectation of magic that there was, the faster people would transform and the more radical the transformation, because the subconscious mind is preparing for a great shift. So my wife and I were reading about this as we're going on our way to Disneyland, because we take business meetings at Disneyland to get
That's where
out.
everyone should have business meetings.
Yes, it's the place of creativity, like it gets you out of your limited thinking, because you're literally walking into a world that someone created for the world.
Yeah.
You're walking into this magical space. And when you go to Disneyland, the night before, you set out your outfit, you set out your snacks, you think about all the rides you're going to go on. It's not an everyday day. You are abandoning the self that lives the everyday to go have a wicked good time at Disneyland. You're driving up, you're listening to your music, you're getting excited, unless you have, 3-year-olds. They don't know how to abandon. They don't know how to do it. They're just living it.
Right.
But you're driving up and we're listening to this music and we're reading about, the different pageantry and lights and expectation of change of miracles. And we look at each other and we say, oh my God, Disneyland is the epicenter of miracles. What would happen if we go into Disneyland expecting magic, which we already do, and then we go on a ride? And have you ever been on a Guardians of the Galaxy or a ride that just drops you? You lose yourself when you drop. You do not think about your cat, your bills, your cheat meal, whatever it was that you just did. You don't think about any of that. So we
other than it coming up, right?
So we said, is Disneyland, can you access that quantum field, that place where you lose yourself and have all possibilities on a ride? Like, is that the highway to transformation? So we decided to go test this, and we call in to get a new client on a ride. If we hold this vision while we're in pure joy and connected to our hearts and expansion, will we create a miracle? So we go on a ride, it drops, and we set the intention, the sights, the sounds, the visuals of getting a client, and our phone dings and we got a client. So then we decide to get our client a client. We go on, what was it, Space Mountain. Our phone dings and our client's like, oh my God, I got a client. We're like, holy shit, this is what's going on here. So then we had one of our employees, her brother had a brain tumor, and we decided, let's bring together a group of people with a full expectation that he is going to heal on this ride, and his life is going to change. And of course, the first time you do something, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. But when you're presenting to people and you want them to believe, you have to go all in. So we're like, we're going to do this. He's going to heal. And 6 weeks later, his brain tumor had calcified. He had a girlfriend. Amazing stuff. So now we realize that going on rides is actually one of the fun and easy ways to completely let go of yourself.
It's kind of the play when you get into that play state, right?
Yes.
Energetically, you're not worried about outcomes. You're not worried about how you look in those outcomes. You are playing, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's where the innateness comes in of our natural and innate state is a playful state.
Yep. So we've done this for
Yeah.
years now. And the miracles we've created are crazy. We got a 6-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, a heart transplant in 6 days, a stage 4 pancreatic cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, full remission. Like, we've got lists of miracles that are just.
When are you going again? I've got a list for you.
What?
When are you going to Disneyland again? I've got a list to send over.
All the time.
So, yeah.
We'll send in our list to Kit.
Right.
If you have a list, honestly, we're having a 4-day event starting on Monday. And we actually learned that you can do this online. We, get them excited the entire event to make a miracle. And then we can do it without the ride now. So if you do have people that you want to heal, send them to me.
Absolutely. You can see on the bottom here too, how people can connect with you, right?
Yep.
I love that. Okay. Is there more to share around that before we keep going here?
Honestly, it's just allow yourself to let go of yourself.
Okay.
Lose yourself. We go on these rides for that reason. Yeah. Because it's fun, because it's joyful, because we really do want to lose ourselves. We want to abandon that part of ourselves that keeps us miserable. And then in our daily life, wake up to yourself realizing you don't do that every day. You do it just vacationally.
Yeah, and it's accessible every day. It's available to you every day.
Yeah, you can do it on any ride, Ryan. Any ride.
Yeah.
And I think the more you go in with that lightness of heart and that joyful spirit and that intention to make something magical, the intention for the day to be incredible, just joy knowing it's going to happen before it happens, the more powerful it is. So you can do it at Disneyland. We're going to do it at Dollywood. You can do it in your own backyard on the slide. You could do it anywhere.
I love it. Yeah, this is really cool, especially for these growth journeys. Like I think of, you mentioned the uncertainty, lose yourself so that you can create something different. So forget all that for a minute and just play for a moment in the unknown. And then we look at abundance. People think of abundance as acquiring. Wayne Dyer says that abundance is something you tune into. It's not something you acquire. And we see it in our journeys as all of the people, resources, materials, opportunities are already around you. They just haven't been transformed into what you have in mind yet. So you have the opportunity to take them from the form they're in and transform them into the form you have in mind, right? Yeah. Which is the play, the imagination, and the intention goes into the vision journey where you play with what it is you'd like to create. And then that ties into surrender. So I'm going to pull a few things in.
Oh,
and I'll let you loose. Okay.
Yeah.
So surrender, the journey of surrender is letting go of how it all comes about. So it's the serendipity, the miracles, the woo-woo, right? You're allowing space for that. And all the while you're nurturing, which is the journey of nurture. You're taking care of yourself. You're increasing in capacity. Maybe you're developing skills and abilities that you've never had before that all incorporate into this creation, right? So you have uncertainty that allows all things to be possible. Abundance means all the things you need are already there. Your vision is what coalesces it. And then your surrender and nurture are how it all comes about. Now it's your turn. I'm going to let you go on that for a minute.
How many, which story do you want? Oh gosh, let me just think on this for a second.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful moments of surrender. I think we'll go with, I have 2 great moments of surrender. I could do one about buying the house, or I'll go with our home rental.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
My wife and I, she's pregnant. We're living in San Diego, North Park, in a small little apartment, and we have actually created a baby. We can't biologically make a baby together because we got two innies, as I like to call it. We don't have an innie and an outie. So we find 2 gay men to make a baby with. And we knock her up via syringe. Not that you don't need to know the details, but some
Sure.
people
Yeah.
are curious, so it's nice to you let them know.
Yeah.
And and she's pregnant, and we all had this agreement. Okay, in the next birds and the bees with Kit. Oh, just wait till I'm not censored. I don't know how far I can go here. So just so we knock her up, and we're like, okay,
Pretty far, by the way.
we're gonna
Yeah.
move in together so that
Yeah.
we can build this bond and be there with her while she's pregnant. And so I was tasked with finding us a house by July in San Diego, and it was May when she got pregnant. And you know when you have a desire for a change and you're ready for the change,
Yeah.
it's almost like the universe shows you every single reason why you want to change. So within that 2 months of having the intention to move, everything in that apartment, in that house, exploded. We got the worst case of fleas.
This
Um,
is going on for me right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Great.
so
This is the right story to tell.
Yeah.
We got the worst case of fleas.
Not the fleas, but
You'll hear it. Okay. So we
Yeah.
got the worst case of fleas. It was a heat wave. We had also in trust rented our house out to somebody new. So somebody had already signed a lease on this house. Like, yeah, we're gonna find a place by July. Great, no big deal. Rented our house out. We had our neighbor's car got stolen, and the homeless people in the area had just started getting really like buck wild, like pooping on the sidewalk in front of our house, just like they were on like level 11. The washer and dryer broke, and so we're sitting here. All of our stuff is packed up. Our house is covered in this diatomaceous earth, so it's this powder.
Yeah.
To kill the fleas because we couldn't use chemicals because my wife is pregnant. We're dripping sweat because it's a heat wave in San Diego, and you don't have most people don't have AC here. And there's poop on the sidewalk. Cars are going
My
missing.
favorite part.
And my wife is like, in that first trimester, which is like the worst one, tired, throwing up, and moody. And I am riddled with anxiety, just covered in white powder and sweat, having to dig through boxes to find my stuff.
Wait, isn't there a movie called Cocaine Bear or something?
Yeah,
That's what I pictured when I saw white powder all over.
That was us. And I was trying to find a house for 4 people who are 2 couples not dating and a baby. So like privacy, and they have very particular needs. So I am just like stressed. I am freaking out. I am riddled with anxiety, and I am in so much fear that I can't sleep at night. You ever had that feeling where you're just like, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how this is going to work.
You might not have poop on your sidewalk, everybody, or fleas, or powder, or all of these other things, but that what they can relate to is that right there.
Yeah.
That
I don't know how this
everything
is
going, all the chaos, right? Finding
Yeah.
like all this stuff happening, and then the fear.
The fear was making me miserable, absolutely miserable. And so finally, I got to a point where I had been miserable and not sleeping and stressed, and that twisting of anxiety inside of you, that I got down on the end of my bed and I just surrendered. I started crying, and I was like, I don't care anymore what the circumstances are. I'm giving up my misery. And that's when I channeled one of my most powerful exercises that I do with my clients. And it's the why is this perfect exercise. And I was like, I am done with my misery, and I'm willing to be happy where I am right now. I'm willing to accept this reality. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to make a list of 101 reasons why I am celebrating that we may not get a house, that things may not turn out how I want them to turn out. So I made the list. I was like, well, we could rent an RV and travel for the summer.
Yes.
And have like an adventure before she gets pregnant or before we have a baby. Well, my sister is traveling in Europe for a couple of months right now, and she has an apartment empty in Dallas. We could go live there rent free and save some money for the baby. And I just went on and on and on and on with the list of why I was totally willing to accept my circumstances and reality in the moment.
What an incredible exercise, by the way, just to highlight that. Yeah.
And I let go.
Huh.
And so we had actually had an application in on an apartment. And we thought we were going to get it, but for 2 weeks, the landlord was just putting us off. And I thought we were going to get it. And I was so stressed, and I was just so attached to getting this one place. It had to be this place. I needed to be this place. This is the one. How could God show me this place? How could the universe show me this place and then not give it to me? What the,
Yeah.
And I was just like, I let go. I was like, you know what? There are 1,001 ways I can be happy right now. And I would choose happiness any day over this misery, over this attachment, over this need. I don't need this to be happy, but I prefer it. And then I made all of my other preferences that I could also be happy with. And when I released that anxiety, that fear, that worry, that need, we got a text message from the landlord saying, come sign the lease, it's ready.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, it was so intense. I feel it right now.
It took fleas and dog poop, homeless people pooping on the sidewalk, and a heat wave. It's like, okay, he's not changing. So here, I need a homeless guy in front of Kit's place, Pronto Stat, and I need fleas, and then drop it in there. Okay, still not changing. Okay, do this, do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that stuff was actually a representation of how done we were, but how unwilling we were to be happy in the moment.
Yeah. I've had moments where I'm like, do you even hear me? Like when I said I wanted this and you're bringing me this, is like, did I mince words here? I'm afraid to speak, because if I speak the wrong thing, you might hear it as this thing and give me something else. Right.
You know what universe says back is, do you even hear yourself?
Right.
That's what the fleas were. That's what the everything breaking was. That's what the homeless people was. It was a reflection of our complaining.
Yeah. Wow.
Not a reflection of our faith that things would be okay.
See, and that right there is the power, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the being open to the flow of what's really true here, and releasing it to all of the possibilities. You talked about, this one possibility, you're stuck on this one way. But no, there's infinite ways. I was going to say trillions, but that's even limiting. There's infinite ways that this can happen, and release it, let it go.
Oh, one of my favorite examples of this is it's so stupid, but sometimes we give away stuff on Buy Nothing or on, for free on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you'll post something, and it's something somebody never even knew that they wanted earlier that day. And then when they don't get it, they're so upset. And it's like,
I have an 11-year-old and she's so dang cute, and she does exactly that. Like, she wants Takis, and she'll be like, her whole life will be ruined over not getting Takis, and she didn't even know she wanted them when she woke up. Right? It's like,
but from 11 to 11:30, it was, I need Takis.
It's the insistence. It has to be this way, or I can't be happy.
Yeah.
That creates so much emotional turmoil.
I'm guilty of it too. I'm not gonna lie. I don't do that. I totally do that. Yeah.
And I think the bigger hurdles we find, the more we want to grow, the more the universe shows us how willing are you gonna let yourself be to be happy.
Yeah.
Because if you are willing to let yourself be happy in crazy situations, you're ready for crazy growth and crazy rewards.
Yeah, I love this. Kit, what is your legacy? What are you hoping to leave as a gift with the world, or give as a gift to the world while you're here? So you don't have to wait till you're gone. But why are you doing any of this?
I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah.
That's the best answer ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun.
Really, I think that's Sometimes we go to these events, like these Tony Robbins events, and they're like, your legacy, you're leaving this, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gosh, can't we just have fun?
Yeah.
Like sometimes that pressure of leaving a legacy can create so much resistance.
Yeah.
So what if my legacy was just like, let's just have fun.
Yeah. I love
Let's
it.
just enjoy life.
I'm in.
But then you really want me to answer the question. I'd love to create a million miracles with people on
Yep.
rides at Disneyland. I'd love to bring groups of thousands of people creating miracles from stages and like showing people what is possible in the world. But sometimes it's just too much pressure. And I'm like, you just do it by having fun.
Yeah, yeah. Whether that happened or not, and I think this goes into the attachment and the bonding to that vision, is the more attached you get to it, the more likely you are to experience frustration and sadness and
Yes.
grief when it doesn't come about the way you thought it should, right?
But why are we doing it? That's the whole question you want to ask is, why
Yeah.
do I want to create miracles with people at Disneyland? Because it's fun. So
Huh.
I can boil my legacy down to let's just have fun.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
then it can show up to me in ways that I maybe didn't know, but could be even better.
Yeah, that's cool. See, and that to me wraps up everything that we do as journeys is you embody, Kit, all of that internal work. You explore and play with possibility out here. So you're growing in here and it's expressing out here. And your legacy with all of it, what wraps it all together or threads it together is fun. Like that's it. Like I'm going to have fun. You go from being suicidal, right? To having fun.
Yeah.
Like what an
And
incredible journey.
I think, I'm a sensitive, very sensitive creature.
Yeah.
I am very sensitive to my own crap. And if I wallow in it too long, it gets really painful. And I think, for people who feel intensely, who go into really dark places, that's really just what that is. Is your shit that you're dealing with just too painful? Sorry, I don't know if I didn't check.
No, we drop fuck bombs on here and
Okay,
shit
cool.
bombs and yeah, we're good. We're good.
And truth bombs.
And truth bombs. I would wonder if there's something that you feel needs to be shared that hasn't been shared for today's show.
Stop taking it so seriously.
Okay.
Really, just go. There's a million and one ways to be happy. There's a million and one ways to receive what you want. There's a million and one ways to do it. And there's a million and one ways to be yourself as well. Like we didn't even touch the transgender stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother bucket.
and we will. I'd love to have you back in and talk about that journey as well and advising people around that, because when we look at the Giants journeys, it's an individual journey. It's each person. It has nothing to do with anybody outside of you. It's releasing that inner giant that's already there. Yep. So whatever that looks like, and it's different because we're, in the world, we're all so different, but we're not.
I can boil it down in one really easy, quick sentence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that people are like, what are you, a man or a woman? And I say, like, I'm infinite. You can't put me in a box. So I identify for you, but my heart knows that this label is only for other people.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just having fun. I thought it would be way more fun to look like this than to look like that.
Yeah. Good for you.
And it felt more resonant with my spirit, but the truth is I'm so much bigger than a label.
Yeah. I like that.
And I see a lot of people caught up in the news and like politically with this issue. And it's like, who cares?
We're going to need to have a separate show on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Ryan, any other thoughts from you today?
I'm going to go with everybody else that's been on here. And look at this. You are a volcano. He is a volcano of love and fun and amazingness, right?
No, and all the other stuff as well.
And all the things, right? You are a gift, Kit. Your journey is relatable because it's very similar in but so different than other people's, if that makes sense, because we all go
Mhm.
through different things and experience things through our lenses. And you might at home might have a totally different journey, but you can find um, commonality in the journey, in the journeys. And Kit breaks it down to be so freaking simple, but he knows that you've been through the stuff too. That you have had your sidewalk shat upon
And fleas and
and the
yeah.
fleas of life that are plaguing you.
Yeah.
And guess what? You can get through this. You can get through to the other side. And he's showing you a way or multiple ways to be able to do that. Have fun. That
Or you
miracles are
don't get
available for you, right? Or don't. Well, like, hey, I guess that's the options too, right? If it's way funner if you kind of move through it and go create, go to Disneyland, get on a ride, set your intentions, and create miracles because you are so flippin' powerful. You are the universe. Kit, you're amazing. The fleas of hashtag the fleas of life.
poop on the sidewalk.
Poop on the sidewalk. There's one too. See, very germinating show. I love you guys so much, and I appreciate you, Kit, for your time. I wish we had more time. We'll have to do this again. We're grateful to
So,
know you and to I don't know what we did right to have you come into our space, but I'm sure glad we're doing it. So
I don't
thank you.
know. You probably did something wrong.
Hey, we probably did something wrong, and the right thing came along too.
I hope we're
Yeah.
not the fleas of life over here,
No,
right?
you're not.
Big changes. Well, thank you for being on our show. We're going to wrap up here. And for those of you that are watching, go to thelittlevolcano.com, check out Kit, engage with Kit. If you have a list, right, get a hold of Kit about your list of creations, but you can do that for yourself. As we always say, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. You're doing what you need to be doing. Just start, like Kit says, enjoying life and express it from here. So make it a giant day. Thank you for being a part of this, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, y'all.
Love you too.